that confusion. Thank you for all of you that made it here. I think we're just waiting on a couple more of our speakers from LA Promise Fund to attend. There's Alex. I am adding you to the stage, Alex. Allison, I need you to chat and I will go fix the other back end.
All right. Hello, everyone. We are going to have LA Promise Fund come in and talk about what they're doing. So Michelle, Sergio, Jason, Alex, you guys can all turn on your cams if you're able to. There's one. Keep it going.
I'm not saying that. I just want to be comfortable. So it's getting chilly out though.
All right, everyone. While we're waiting for LA Promise Fund to get going, as a reminder, we have a bunch of on-demand content. Please go check that out. We have global case studies from all around the world, and almost all of our panels that we've had from Friday to Saturday are all rewatchable. So please go and do that. All right, we're waiting on two more. Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Living the dream every day.
You're almost there, almost to the finish line.
So sorry about that confusion. That was 100% my fault on the website mishap. I think we're missing Sergio. If you want to turn on your camera and mic.
We have two Jasons. That's exciting.
We have double Jason.
Two is better than one is what I always say.
All right, Jason. Not Jason. Sergio is not there anymore. All right, if you want to actually, Jason, if you want to turn your camera on and off, I think it should fix and not have there be two of you.
Okay. I don't know. Is there two of me? I don't see two of me.
Well, Alex, do we see? I don't see Sergio in the. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn my camera off. Okay. Okay, so Jason, I'd like you to turn your camera and mic off completely and then turn them back on after 3 seconds. And then Alex, if you want to kick it off, I think we should be okay. I think he just needs to refresh his flow.
Okie doke. I mean, we're all teachers here. We're very used to vamping and all the tech stuff going wrong. So this is kind of our domain. So it's a warm welcome. We feel at home. So this is great. Thank you so much for having us, Brick Foundation. You all are super wonderful. I hope you know that.
Thanks. Sorry for this, but very thankful to have you.
Yeah, so thankful to have you.
So we're happy to be here. So I work at the LA Promise Fund. My name is Alex Karras, and I work on an arts education program called Arts Matter. And today I have 3 teachers who are part of that program here to share a little bit more about education with you all and what's happening in classrooms. So having attended this event last year in person, I was really taken by maybe the story of where Brick Foundation came from and why they wanted to do the summit, of thinking about this world in which there's a lot of talking but not a lot of action maybe. So they're definitely interested in what's happening in the K-12 education space and what's happening there. And I think what is happening there with these teachers and their classrooms is really exciting, because we're definitely helping kids, helping middle and high school kids get ready for the animation industry, for the filmmaking industry, for the arts industries in Los Angeles and across the country. So that's what we are up to, and that's what we'll be talking about today, a little bit of like how this all happens. So I would like to let everyone introduce themselves. So I'll kick it over to Michelle to start us off.
Okay, hi, I'm Michelle Mary Lee, and I'm credentialed in art, and I've been teaching over a decade now in the classroom, and I'm currently an AP art and design teacher and yearbook at West Adams Prep High School and Ryman Arts, and I've participated in the media arts program for 2 years, so this is my second year.
Great, thank you, Michelle. And then next up we have Jason Robb.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason Robb. I'm a third-year English teacher at LA Promise Charter High School. I'm credentialed in English. I've been part of the Arts Matters program for my second year now, and yeah.
All right, thanks. So then last but not least, Sergio.
Oh no.
Hi, so I'm Sergio Rodriguez. I am a 7th grade math and science teacher at LA Promise Charter Middle School. I've been there for 3 years, but I've been in the classroom for just under a decade as an aide in other spots.
Awesome. So as you may have heard from all these introductions, people teach things other than art. And what we're trying to do is integrate the arts into classrooms in Los Angeles. There's actually not a lot of training that happens in the classroom, even though we have such a robust creative economy. We're not really at the forefront of arts education in the classroom. So what we're trying to do is bring the arts in through math, through language arts, through other subjects as much as we can. So we're going to talk today a little bit first about kind of how we do that, how have we started with our curriculum, and how that has gone for a lot of these non-arts teachers. And so what we found really helpful is establishing a starting point, a place where people can go, oh, I can do that. Are my kids going to create a 90-minute fully produced film in a year? No, they're not. But there is a way to introduce your students to the arts and visual processes. And one way to do so is thinking through the lens of graphic design. We found that's been a super effective way to get students engaged in the arts and start that journey of them, so they will one day be able to produce fully produced movies. But starting with graphic design has been really helpful for our teachers and students. So does anyone want to speak to using graphic design, starting that artistic journey there?
Go ahead and speak on that. So in my first year, I was a 6th grade teacher before they moved me up into 7th grade. And we realized, me and my teaching partner realized that ratios and proportions were one of the hardest concepts for students in 6th grade to get, because it was very abstract. Like, it was this idea that, you know, there's something outside of relationships than relationships that you have with another person. And in the second year, when we started adopting the Media Arts Matters curriculum and starting to work on that in the classroom, is we decided to start immediately with graphic design and ratio and proportion. And then going through all of the wealth of art that we had available to us from Studio One and other studios that we work with to create this robust program for the students, they were able to look at artwork, see different types of typography, different shapes, different colors, and make relationships just based on things that they would see in class. And at that moment, we did this within the first couple of weeks of school, and you could just start seeing everything starting to connect with the students. Students were able to make this metacognitive connection between an abstract thought to something that they can actually see, and then eventually make on their own. And it was just amazing how this content area, or this subject that we were going over in math that gave us grief in my first year of teaching, suddenly became so much easier to teach, just because of the curriculum that we've been putting together for it.
Yeah. I could add on that. Could I go? Okay, good. Yeah, so I mean, I agree. I mean, you went back to middle school. I think about me 2 years ago as an art instructor, I was given pencils and paper and it put in a chemistry class. And since like Media Arts Matter started, you know, like our final project that we just had was a cover art design. So students had to choose music. And that's especially now, you know, when we don't have full access to materials. And this is something that really is like social and emotional learning for the students, and it's part of their identity and it's meaningful to them. So it's been great. Graphic arts has been a real win for all of us, the students, the teachers. And so one of my students, Gilberto, he was actually the one who would show cover art demos to other students, and they would teach each other, and he would show them, what do you want to do? Okay, then let's do it that way. Let's try it again. How do you want to do it? You know, so they would just keep going. It's like this freedom when that they found with graphic arts. Mm-hmm.
I liked how Michelle talked about how she had the kids make cover art. In the ELA classroom, it's been really easy to do this graphics designing assignment because earlier in the fall we did personal narratives, and I had the students create a book cover for their own narrative. And a lot of them thought, oh, this is weird. I've never had to do like an artistic project in the English classroom before. And some of the successful stories is that students are able to like really understand the whole judge a book by a cover. And if someone were to want to read their narrative, the first thing they would see is a book cover. So I told them, you know, your assignment is to create a book cover. Put as much as possible on this book cover, and in a way entice your readers to read your story. And a lot of them engaged in the project. A lot of fun was had, and I got a lot of cool samples of work that I got to put up in my classroom.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's interesting to see how graphic design has been really an entry point for students throughout the year. And it's been really fun to see it not just stop there, it keeps going and going. Teaching animation has been something that's been a focus area lately. Does anyone want to speak to how they've started to build upon graphic design and start to incorporate these in their classroom?
Actually, this past month, I had students complete a storyboarding project where they were creating animated GIFs based off of a narrative or a made-up narrative they wrote. And at our school, we actually have a film class where they wrote film treatments, and they brought those treatments to my class, and their task was to create 3 GIFs about the main points of their story. So like the exposition, the climax, and the resolution. And a lot of the students had really good projects, and a lot of them got really creative with this animation. So they were getting really creative, like with cropping images from outside sources, using drawing, sketching. So it was very fun to see kids do that in a visual way.
You were able to do this, but you were also able to do it like when we had it the first round pre-distance learning, right? So, because I remember for me, I was supposed to start the first round of the storyboarding and animation, and my first lesson was on March 16th when everything closed down. So I didn't even get a chance to. But through distance learning, it actually translated very well. So I actually had to switch subject areas for the ma'am, and the way that it's structured, I don't know if you would agree with me, Jason. It's really easy to just move around pieces and make it work and still kind of get the essence of what we're trying to get the students to do. So I had to switch over to science, and I've been using MAM on an overarching thing for chemical reactions, and students, just like Jason's class, had to develop GIFs of chemical reactions that they saw at home, and then be able to support what they did with writing and a scientific argument. And it's pretty much doubled my work submission whenever we have something like this during distance learning.
Yeah, that's great. It seems like animation can really be applied to different classroom situations. I know when I think back to middle and high school, and you know, when you got to choose your project, like I'm going to do a skit with my friends, or I'm going to make a video with my friends, or I'm going to make a poster for my book report. I think adding in, 2021, adding in, make a GIF, make a storyboard, make a digital poster design. All of those things are actually viable, and we should be adding to that whole repertoire of ways that students can express their knowledge and their own creativity. So I think adding that into all experiences has been really great. Does anyone have anything else? We talked about animation and graphic design. Any other content?
Yes, photography. We had photography unit, and I could hopefully try to share my screen if I could. Do you think I could? I'm clicking on share. Oh, okay, there you go. It's a little different. Okay. So, okay, do you see it? Do you see something that says photography in the middle, Alex? Oh, what's going on here? Let me try. Let me know. Can you see it out loud?
Yes, can see it now.
Okay. Okay, good. So this is our so we did do photo. So we expanded this media arts into photography, where we can teach theme and story, and really bookmark students' histories and their communities, and how they see themselves represented in our curriculum that we're teaching. So the students felt welcome. I think even like their community members felt welcome by the students. So we want to see, you could, like, all these photos represent the students living within their community. So for example, Eric here was able to show the dignity of his the post office worker who comes every day, and it's just a simple photo of everyday life, but it's his world right now, while living in this interior life, at home. So yeah, just showing their community becomes their source materials for us. I think I stopped sharing, right? Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. If I can jump in, I also use photography really effectively in my classroom with English. Last semester, we read MLK's I Have a Dream. And, we analyzed the deeper themes of the speech and trying to make a connection to our present day. And, in a typical English classroom, a teacher will just have the students do an essay. So with using whatever I learned in media arts with photography, I actually wanted the students to show their arguments about whether MLK's dream, the quote unquote dream he spoke of in his speech, came true in 2020. So I had students actually go and take pictures of their neighborhood in South LA. And one of my favorite projects I got back from one of my students is they took pictures of the homelessness that's sprouting up in South LA during 2020. A lot of Black Lives Matter shirt stations, I would call them. Black Lives Matter shirts on the corners of Western and Manchester here in LA. And my student took pictures of that. And, the idea of Black Lives Matter being a big topic, almost decades later after MLK's speech, was kind of poignant with the student. The student wanted to argue yes, the dream came true, but there's a lot of work we are working on, and that's what they wanted to highlight with their photography. And I think that project really had students open up their eyes in terms of what their community is going through and with the context of what happened in the past. And I thought it was a really powerful project.
That sounds wonderful, Jason and Michelle. I think photography has been really helpful for students. They all have cameras on their phones. We've seen some issues with getting those photos back onto the computer, turned into the teacher. That's a little bit tricky, but other than that, taking photos has really been empowering for a lot of students. So it seems like we've done a lot of different types of arts making throughout the year. Does it feel disconnected, or is there a way that anyone's been kind of making sure that we build bridges among the different disciplines in media?
So I don't know about for the other two panelists, but for me, when I switched over to science, it was that idea there during distance learning, especially, is what do you want them to come out from with your classroom? And I decided that for at least science, I wanted them to be able to create models and document their work and write argumentative writing to explain their process. So scientific arguments. And when I moved it over, we had just started a new unit on chemical reactions, and we had this anchoring phenomenon of gas being released from bath bombs when they're put into water. As soon as I started it up at the beginning of this school year, so when we came back from the winter break, I had students go outside, either create a bath bomb or try to find a chemical, something that they think is a chemical reaction at home, or create their own chemical reactions and document it with pictures, document their steps, their process, the ingredients that they used, what it was like before. There was multiple pictures that make this huge documenting. Then when it came to making the model, that's when we brought in the storyboarding and the animated GIFs, where we would see an animated representation of the pictures that they took to make it more engaging. And while all that was going on, we were taking steps at every single step that we were taking to write a scientific argument that was sound, that showed that they were understanding this concept of two things coming into contact with each other and becoming something else, or just a chemical change, getting a deeper understanding for something that would regularly be done in a lab, but now they're able to do it connected through either finding a bath bomb or connecting it with videos with students that weren't able to get any of the supplies. And it's just this entire idea that we just get like all these things, all these different experiences, but we're all able to lead to one pathway. In sense, all roads lead to Rome, for lack of a better cliche.
So with using media arts throughout the year, I always wanted to have the same, that I wanted to bring arts back into English language arts. Thinking about what I've been through with all these art projects, we're actually starting Shakespeare next month or this month, and we're reading Romeo and Juliet. And this is where I want to use an opportunity to incorporate a lot of other media arts like film writing, screenwriting, theater, acting, and those are all other things I want to like bring into the curriculum, not just reading Shakespeare, but like what goes into putting on a play of Romeo and Juliet. How do filmmakers look back at Shakespeare's work and influence their work? So we're looking at adaptations of Romeo and Juliet throughout the years. And I'm just trying to expose my students as much as possible to, how flexible media arts is, and how, every experience they have in all their classrooms, they can take that into that career path.
Great. Yeah, it seems like there's definitely a lot of applications for this. And if we think about applications, we also want to think about apps and the technology and how this is all happening. We just have a few minutes left, everyone. So I think if everyone could jump in on this, and then we can go to some Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, put them over there in the Q&A section. But we've kind of found, and these are 3 teachers, and we've got 30 or more teachers doing this work in schools in Los Angeles. We found that the right technology is really important. And usually the right technology is one piece of technology or 2 pieces of technology. Choosing something that's really focused has been really helpful. And something that we've found is choosing just like one anchor tech app. And for us, that's been Spark. So does anyone want to share on the Adobe Spark adventure that we've all been on?
Yeah, so like you were saying, Adobe Spark is our bread and butter. That's where we start and we end everything. Even if we have to like outsource whatever we do in Spark into another website to like kind of finish everything up, but no, Adobe Spark is home for us. And it's great. Like, what was it? The first assignment that I had them turn in, it was done before we had more functions on Adobe Spark. So I had the students like create a link or share a link with me or take a snapshot and put it in, because it was a graphic design. So it was like not moving at all. But after we came back from winter break, Adobe Spark was able to give us like the opportunity to upload assignments directly into Google Classroom if you use one of those or any other. I don't know if they have anything for other what is it, LMSs like that. I know that there is ways to work with it on Schoology, but it's becoming more and more user friendly as we go on.
I agree, Sergio. It's so easy to share the screen, share the screen of Adobe Spark with each other, so we could really track where students are and the processes and their thought processes. So it just makes sure that everyone's on track, and even the students could share with their peers, right? Mm-hmm.
Jumping on that Adobe Spark bandwagon, if I say, it actually saved me with my animation project. A lot of kids are struggling with a lot of other ways to do drawing it on paper or drawing it on Google Scribble. A lot of the Adobe Spark came in at the last minute. I actually realized I looked at some videos that teachers have provided me about like using Adobe Spark to create stills and essentially creating a canvas and creating a character and moving them across that canvas one frame at a time and downloading each one at a time as an individual image and then uploading it to a separate app to create a GIF. It was really fun because I never thought I could use Adobe Spark to make animation, and it was pretty easy, and a lot of my students made some good work too.
I would definitely, if you're an educator out there, check it out. It's free for all students to use, and there's a lot of functionality. They can make a website, they can make a video, they can make a static. So lots of things that you can do there. And again, like we've been teaching animation using this kind of like 2D design process and just downloading something, and then move it a little bit, download it again, move it a little bit, and then you have all of your frames that you can put into a GIF. So we've been doing it that way. So I'm seeing here in the chat, or in the Q&A rather, we have a question about VTS. And so that is something that we have used in the classroom quite a bit. VTS is a pretty common education practice. And it stands for Visual Thinking Strategies, and it gets the students engaged in a work of art. Typically, it's used for like painting and more traditional visual arts, but we've been using it to teach media arts. So does anyone want to speak to how they've used VTS in the normal classroom with media, or in the classroom with media?
I can jump in on this. With English and ELA, Common Core standards require students to analyze text, and usually that text is not words on paper. It's usually images or films or wherever way meaning can be derived from any kind of medium, I guess. And VTS is actually a great strategy I've used in my classroom when it comes to looking at artwork that relates to our reading. So like say most recently, last semester we read Of Mice and Men, and I showed clips from the Gary Sinise film, and I used VTS strategies, VTS type questions for students to answer while they watch the film. Passively watching the film, but they're actively watching it and being asked some really text-based questions. So like, what did you see in the scene? What else did you see? And what are some story indicators that, because I was teaching character development, so like how are characters relating to each other, and those VTS strategies were used within that context.
I've also used VTS. So when I was in the classroom, it actually made for better conversation and then student discourse between each other. Because when we first looked at a piece of art, I was expecting questions like, oh, it's red. I see two people. The lady's crying. Something very simple. But using VTS strategies, we're able to get like a bigger, like more robust conversation out of the students. So it lets you focus them and drive them. It's kind of, they're exploring while you're like kind of have like a hand from the back seat trying to steer them in the direction that you want them to get into a discussion about. And it's just gets them started and gets them thinking about what they're working on. at the time instead of just having scattered thoughts and trying to bring those together. It gets a little bit more focused.
I agree. When student says something about, about the image, they see like a red dress and another like, I see green eyes. It just keeps, anything's okay. Whatever they see, it builds upon each other. And it really becomes a surprise as to what the students are actually seeing. And the result that we get, the deeper meaning, it's something that we didn't consider before, when we look at the image. So. Mm-hmm.
I think it's been really interesting to see across classrooms, mostly because the teacher shows an image that's a piece of media, that's a cereal box design or an album cover or a GIF or a film clip, things that students interact with and see constantly, but they just see it, right? And so this is forcing students to slow down and think through what they're seeing. And it's, like Michelle said, it's created a lot of really interesting and surprising conversations in classrooms. So it looks like we're at 3:25. The bell has rung. School's out for the day. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to put here in the chat our website so you can check out a little bit more about what we do. And again, we're really just trying to make sure that students here in Los Angeles have the training, have the skills to take on these careers in the fields that are right there in their backyards. So thank you to Jason and to Michelle and Sergio, and thank you to Burke Foundation.
Thank you so much, Alex. We love LA Promise Fund and all the work that you do. You guys are the best.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the Saturday to talk to everyone. And the two Jasons, out of control. Very good. Thank you, Jason.
All right. Bye, everyone. We're just going to reset the room for the next panel.